Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission, a podcast talking all things mental health and wellness in the Burgh. Brought to you by...
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.
Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission Podcast. My name is Angela Rivers, and today I'm here with Karen Moschetto, the head of school for Fredericksburg Academy. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah,
happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Sure.
It's a long time coming, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know I'm a big fan of Fredericksburg Academy.
I know this for sure. We appreciate that.
Of course. So let's begin today's podcast by just telling our listeners, how did Fredericksburg Academy evolve? When did it begin and where has it come since?
Mm-hmm. So Fredericksburg Academy's opening day was September of 1992. But prior to that, there's a little bit of history in getting to that day. And there were two moms in Fredericksburg who had grown up with independent school in their family. So one of the moms had gone to an independent school and they had children who were getting ready to be going to school. And so they were kind of like looking around at schools and saying, well, wait a second, there's no independent school option in Fredericksburg. I'm looking for this type of school and I don't see one. They started asking questions and started talking to other people, and other people like, well, wow, that sounds like a really neat idea. What would have to happen? And the next thing you know, they had this group of people and they started asking questions of VAIS, who is the Virginia Association of Independent Schools, who is our accrediting body. So we, they come in and check our school, make sure we're doing everything the way we should be. These two moms said, what would we have to do to start a school? And the next thing you know, they went on their way and started building the school, and school opened with 63 students in, I think it was September 7th or somewhere around there. The school opened in a small space off of Courthouse Road on 208. And very quickly, the school outgrew that space. Mm-hmm. So it moved to our current location on Academy Drive, off of Falcon Drive. And the building, the way it is situated, was it was an office building, for lack of a better word. So there were upstairs parts, downstairs parts. There was a furniture showroom on one side and we came in, and this was prior to my time. I say we because Fredericksburg Academy is me, so it's we. Moved walls and just, reconfigured hallways and did lots of things. So the school moved into that space. I believe it was after 2 years of being at the Courthouse Road location. And little by little, as the school grew, we eventually took over more and more of the space. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to be at the school and have somebody be looking for the realtor's office who was upstairs, or somebody was looking for the medical billing office. The Army Corps of Engineers had an office there. My favorite was that there was a hair salon there, which was very convenient when I needed to get my hair cut, So as the school grew, we took that space over, and then we started adding to the campus. So the sports center got built and dedicated in 1999. And then the upper school, our arts and sciences building, got built in 2004. And then 2004 is kind of when the campus, as you see it today, was established. So it had a long history of kind of getting to that point. But yes, it started out in a very small space and then eventually just kept building and building. And so even today, we are constantly reconfiguring rooms. If we know that one class might be a little bit bigger and we need more space, we'll move a wall. Or if what has happened most recently is we find out, oh, now we're going to have 2 sections of a grade level, and now we need to take a wall down, or we need to put a wall back up in a space where it was down. And so, it's constantly evolving, and it's one of the things that makes it exciting to be there.
Yeah. And what is an independent school exactly? How is that different from any other realm?
Right. So an independent school truly is a school that is both governed, funded, and run independent of a public sector. So we have a board of trustees. That board of trustees is, the overseer or caretaker of the school. If you want to say they're the owners of the school, you could say that they're the owners of the school. They hire somebody to run the school. So that's my position. And then my job is to hire the other people that are needed to run the school. We have no funding from any government sources. We don't take taxpayer money. So all of our funding comes from our parents' tuition, fundraising that we do, things like that. And we get to set our curriculum. Now, that may sound like, well, wow, you get to do whatever you want. No, we know what the standards are. We look at science standards, reading standards, math standards, and then we figure out how do we do that the best way possible for kids to maximize their education. And so we'll look at different aspects of programs and say, well, we really like that part of it. We like elements of Montessori education. And so we incorporate some of that into our lower school education. So we really kind of get to set that path. We really have autonomy over our program. And at the end of the day, we don't require, or we're not required to give an SOL because we're not answering to that governing body. But our accrediting body, VAIS, does come in and say, well, why are you doing this, and how are you doing this, and what are the results of that? And so we do have to be testing in some way, and we want to make sure kids are advancing. And so it's not a willy-nilly like, yeah, let's have a free-for-all and just bake cookies every day, because that's not really what we're about. So we really look at what are the best practices, what program can we put in place that is really going to get kids to think. I mean, that's the most important part of what we do. At the end of the day, that's what we're all required to do in our jobs. We have to be able to carry on conversations. So we have to be good communicators. It's not just about like, do I know the answer to something? It's like, how did you get to that answer? And why is that the answer? And let's dig a little deeper. How does that relate to something else that you do? So we're really trying to do a lot of cross-curricular program as well in our school.
Yeah, and would you say that's what sets Fredericksburg Academy apart from other schools?
Yeah, I think having that flexibility to be autonomous in our curriculum is really one of the pillars of our school. The other aspect of Fredericksburg Academy that makes us unique is we are small, and we are small by design. We want to be very intimate in our classroom. We want to know our students really well. And so, we'll have classrooms that have 12 to 14 students in there. In the lower grades, we've got 2 teachers in there helping and working. And so if you can imagine, the amount of attention that a student will get and the amount of support that we can give them throughout their education. I mean, that's just, it's really hard to replicate that when that, public schools are having classrooms that are, 28 kids in a class, even 30 at times. It's very easy to hide, for lack of a better word. And so you're really forced to, answer a question. The teacher's not going to call on 30 kids, but I bet in a day somebody gets called on 3-4 times a day in a classroom. And so you have to be accountable, you have to be paying attention, and it's just it's an environment that I really wish growing up for myself that I had, where it was very easy for me to do the work that was assigned, and then that was kind of it, like nothing more, nothing less. And I think having those close relationships, you're really able to look at somebody and go, okay, like this is good, but like let's do better. Like you can do better. And so you're really forced to do that. And I think just that intimate setting and, kind of knowing what makes each student tick, you've got 12, 14 students in a room, each one of them, has different needs. And so our teachers are really able to meet those needs in the classroom.
And that's what brought us to Fredericksburg Academy was the small class sizes.
Right.
I felt like my children were just a number in other
Correct.
schools. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I wish we started both of my children in the lowest grade
Right.
and only one got that advantage.
Right. Yeah, it's just a neat experience to kind of walk into a classroom at Fredericksburg Academy because it's palpable.
Yeah.
You feel it the minute you are in that room. You see what's going on in the room. You see kids walking around being very independent. You hear, I like to call it productive chaos. I mean, you hear noise, but it's not just like noise, like because kids are just being kids. It's like they're talking with each other. I love when I walk into a classroom and I see kids huddled over something and they're trying to figure out a solution, or they're reading to one another, and it's just kind of a magical place. And again, like I said, it's not an experience that I had either. And I know that when I see students who graduate FA and they've had that, just the confidence that, they set off on college with, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And I most certainly didn't have that experience either. College was hard. Like I didn't really know how to study. I didn't learn how to do those things because I wasn't forced to do that when I was going to school.
And I wasn't either. You always want for your children what you didn't have.
Exactly.
And so this is the right fit for us. And I know that they're going to soar and be the best they can be because of the school.
Right. And it'll, it's a journey.
It is.
Like it will take, there'll be highs and lows but it's all a learning process. And that's really what I think, being in those small classes, you can really let that process go. You're not racing to get through something, which I feel like a lot of times is what's happening in education. It's like, hurry up and get through this chapter so you can take this test, so you can do this. We actually stop sometimes, or you want to get it over with. And sometimes then kids are like, well, okay, we're done with that. You don't use it again. But I feel like we're constantly coming back to those things and showing them, remember when we did this? This is how it relates to this. Now you're going to apply it in this situation. And so, it's a great place to work. It's a great place to be. I feel like if you're a kid, leaving today to come here, pass by kids going outside, kids coming back from classes and like talking about what had just happened in class. And that's really exciting to be a part of every day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. For sure. And then let's talk about the coronavirus and how that played a part. It's been over 2 years now?
So it's the third school year that has actually been affected by this virus.
And Fredericksburg Academy was one of the very few schools that was open the whole time. Right. But for you as the head of school, what was that like when you got the initial call?
So I can backtrack a little bit because we had a break while coronavirus was really starting to come into, I would say, not only into the United States, but everybody all of a sudden was going, oh boy, when is this coming here? Yeah. So I had been somewhere. I had actually been in Italy and had started getting notices that, oh, guess what? Coronavirus is in Italy. Don't go to this part of the country. And thinking like, oh, no problem. I'm not going there. I'm going to be in Rome. And it's like, looking back now going like, sure, that was a smart move. I don't know about that. But saw as we were there, things starting to shut down. Oh, gosh. And so I had passed, there was a schoolyard that we walked by every day. And like all of a sudden towards the end of the week, I realized there's no kids. There's no kids in the schoolyard anymore. Like they've stopped going to school. Like, oh my goodness. So came back to Fredericksburg Academy. We had a faculty meeting that first Tuesday of the month of March. And I said, we're not meeting. You're going and you're planning because we're going to have to close school soon. It's coming. I said, figure out what you want to send home, what you want to do. And again, at the time, we thought maybe we were going home for 2 weeks.
Right.
Oh, we'll close for 2 weeks and we'll see what happens. And then just as we kind of made a plan, like, all right, I think we probably won't come back until after spring break, we got the word that everything was shut down for the rest of the year. And it was just, I mean, I just remember like my heart sinking into my stomach thinking, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to do this? And it was just an amazing task to get this up and running. I mean, it was a Herculean effort by our faculty who just figured out, all right, like this is how our program's going to look and this is how we're going to run it. And it didn't stay that way because as we do all the time at Fredericksburg Academy, you learn what works, what doesn't work. We started getting really worried about the amount of screen time kids were spending on computers. And so we had to make adjustments here and there. We tried to do some social gatherings. We offered some classes. Some of our upper school teachers actually offered some opportunities to do different, what I would call enrichment, learning how to make music on your computer and doing different things just because we're like, nobody's going anywhere. They're going to be sitting in their homes. What can we do for them? We started offering Falcon Club, virtual Falcon Club in the afternoon, which is our after school care program. And when we would have guest readers come on, so different administrators or teachers would come on and read to the kids. And like, I consider myself an introvert. I'm not comfortable necessarily being out. It's part of my job and I do it, but like when it's over, I need to like really recharge. But I really found myself like missing being around people, and because that's what our school is about. It's about the people, and we think of them as our family members. And like we were all worried about what was going to happen, like what was going to happen to the school, and were people getting sick, and it just was such a scary time. So when we ended the year, we all had to take a really deep breath, and like I think we just had to recoup. We started having administrative meetings. We would go onto campus and we'd get into a big room and everybody would have their own table. And then we started plotting basically what will the next school year look like. And we had multiple options on the table, which ranged from full-time virtual to, alternate days, AB days. And ultimately we decided, we can do this on campus in person. We have the space. Our classes are small to begin with. We had to decrease them in size a little bit more to make sure we had the 6 feet. We put lots of plans in place that really limited movement of students. But it was uncomfortable and it was a little scary at first because there were just still so many unknowns going into it. But we believed that if we could maintain the distance, we could get people to, wear the mask and just, any sign of trouble, sniffle, headache, cough, whatever, just stay home and like proceed with caution. Don't come. Like, let's figure out if you really are sick or not. Because last year was very different, where you were sending the whole class home the minute you had a case. It was like everybody went home. So it was hard. It was challenging beyond anything I think I've ever done professionally. But at the same time, I feel like it just taught me a lot about what we can do when we really come together and have a common purpose and say, look, this is what kids need. Kids need to be in school right now. They need to be with their teachers. They can't be relying on their parents to help them do schoolwork.
That's true.
You had to do that. The parents were working at home. Yeah. Like, we need to do this for our families. We need to figure it out. And watching it all come together and watching teachers, kind of step out of their comfort zone and being a little uneasy about it and going, I'm not sure, but kind of watching again as we went through the year, like people understanding like, okay, like this works, like we can do it. I mean, at the end of the day last year, I think we had 5 cases on campus and none of it spread.
That's
anybody
incredible.
who came. And again, it goes back to those mitigation strategies that we had in place. And again, that goes back to, our teachers, our culture. Nobody was arguing with the teacher when they said, pull your mask up. Nobody was, arguing when you asked them to not talk while they were eating lunch. I mean, those were the times where we were most worried, when they were, eating and drinking. And that's what we do at FA. It's like we're here to learn, and we want to be here. So we're going to do what we need to do. So it was hard. I look back and I think about where we are now, and it's so much more complicated right now. I mean, it's great. People have vaccinations and booster shots, and teachers are feeling good in that way. But there's still a group on our campus that can't be vaccinated. And, it's so many different variations now of, if this, student X has COVID, well, are they vaccinated or not vaccinated? Who's sitting around them? Are they vaccinated or not? So it's a little harder. Really have to keep track of things. Where last year, we just said, okay, everybody goes home. Done.
See you later.
So it's been harder this year in that sense. But I will look forward to having a year where we don't have to say the word COVID or quarantine or PCR test or any of those things. Yeah. But I think one of the things that has been great this year is to see what I call is a return to normal. Having concerts, having athletics, having performances by lower school. We had a great fall carnival. We had a holiday breakfast. It looked different than it did in past, but we're able to make those adaptations and adjustments and carry out a plan. And I think it's been really important to our community to have those events. I think we've all missed kind of coming together for just to celebrate, whatever occasion it might be. It's important. I mean, that's what our school is built on, is those relationships.
It really is. And it taught us flexibility too. It doesn't have to be the same way every year for all the things. They can change and they can grow, and we can learn from them. And
I think it taught me too that, it's okay to say, like, when you need help.
Taught me that, because I don't ever ask for help.
I think I know, like, I didn't always have the answers, and you feel like you always have to be the one to be strong in front of everybody. And I mean, there were times when I wasn't, and I showed that I was vulnerable, and I think that's all really important. And I have an incredible team of administrators that I work with, and there were times when other people took the lead, and I was okay with that, and you just have to let go sometimes and not have to worry about holding on to the reins, so hard, and let other people help.
Yeah. And you did it, I mean, that is, I think you should get so much praise for doing it, for being successful through the pandemic and the hardest year you're probably ever going to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to.
We hope, at least.
I hope, like, knowing. I've been an educator for a long time now. Yeah. This is year 26 at Fredericksburg Academy. I was at 2 other independent schools, and like, this really was, the monkey wrench of all monkey wrenches to get thrown into the year. But again, you can wallow and worry and do all those things, or you can act. And I think that's what we did. It's not that we didn't wallow and worry. We did enough of that, but then it was kind of like, okay, what needs to be done? What's the best thing to do here? And it was just the best decision that we could have made. And we learned a lot going through it last year. I mean, which is why some of the things this year, as we started the year, we didn't do all the same things that we needed to, because we realized, like, okay, like, it took a lot of manpower to get that done last year. We don't need to do all of those things. But we can still have the key mitigation steps in place to make sure that we have a safe environment. And so we've had we've had some cases. Most of them have been transmitted within families, and we send the people home who need to be sent home. But in other instances, nobody's had to be sent home because we're following the 3 feet and the masking and all that. So it's been nice in that sense to try to really keep kids at school. That's really been the goal this year, is to make sure that can happen as much as possible.
Yeah, as a parent, I loved the fact that they were still in school. It's so hard for my kids being so young to be able to work from a screen and to learn.
Right.
And so I was really thankful, but I was scared.
Sure.
And so how did you ease other parents that might have been scared?
Well, I mean, I think, again, I go back to the relationships that we build with parents, whether it's with the parents who had been returning to FA, who knew us, or it was the people who were new. They had to put their trust in us, and they had to understand, and they saw us, I think, each and every day carrying those things out. And they understood, like, I made the right call in being here. They could see. And
going above and beyond.
Above and beyond, I mean, I think, and everybody had to do that. And I think they were appreciative of that. And because of that, we had so many students return, who had come for the first time last year. They returned because they were like, you know what, this is really where I would like to be. Like, I see what the school has done in hard times. Like, I'm really excited to see what will happen, as we move forward. So I think it's that relationship building. It's trust. It's being available. If somebody had questions or concerns, I mean, I never hesitated to answer an email, pick up the phone and call somebody, and I think when you are open and willing to do that, and sometimes a parent makes a good point. You're like, yeah, actually, we didn't consider that. Thank you for saying that. Like, we're going to incorporate that. And so we have that open communication flow that I think allows parents to feel like I'm really making a good decision by being here. So
and the school's grown in the past year, right?
School has grown. We're just under 390 students. We actually have potentially 8 students enrolling. Come January in the second semester, and so our admission activity is out it's going crazy. I mean, the phone is ringing, people are calling, they want to come, they want to visit. And even with that, we're being very careful about how we proceed with that. We're doing a lot of the visits after school when most of the students have gone home. Teachers are meeting and assessing students in different ways. So we're all adapting, but we're super excited about, what's happening. And I think the word is out there about what we're doing. And so I'm excited by that and really happy to see that the school is kind of moving in that direction. We can get to 450 students in a couple of years. It'd be super exciting, and see what happens from there, Yeah.
And it also, for anyone listening, it's elementary school or lower school, middle school, and upper school.
Yeah, we are preschool through 12th grade, which is quite a range of students. But again, I'm going to go back to, talking about the things that, make me smile at FA. We've got 4-year-olds who meet with the cross-country team, and their buddies. We have the first graders who meet with seniors and they do reading buddies. And we have other teams and classes that are, getting together and making that experience more than just, I'm an upper school student. I'm just going to play, I'm just going to play on teams and be with only upper school students. No, actually, we have some middle school students who play on our varsity teams. And so that's such a great experience. Like, I, just having coached a field hockey season, had 3 8th graders who played on my team for a good part of the season and 2 more who joined later. Like, the connection that they all of a sudden felt with those upper schools, that was a big deal to them, to feel accepted by, all the members of the high school team. So it's really exciting. We have students that go through, all 14 years. We call them lifers. We start at, we'll start counting at kindergarten and pre-K or JK. In the past few years, I would say that probably 60+% of our graduates had been at school for that long. And that's another special thing. And it doesn't mean that people can't come at any other time, because people get transferred and they move and do all these different types of things. But everybody is just immediately welcomed into that class. And oftentimes you don't even realize, like, oh, they've only been here 4 years. Like, they're part of this class, like, you know. And so that's really neat aspect. And one of the great things that I heard from one of the new students this year was she couldn't believe that she knew everybody in her class. Like, and again, you know, I graduated in a big high school class of 550 kids, and people were walking across the stage, and I was like, they're in my class? Like, I went to school with them? Like, I never saw them, you know? So it's just that environment just promotes a lot of different relationship building, which is really important.
And I know, you know, we talk a lot, you know, in FA about the upper school and how we would love to have more people in upper school. Are there advantages to sending your child to upper school at FA compared to a public realm?
Well, I mean, most certainly at FA, you're going to get that college prep, you know, program. Our academic curriculum is set for students who are going to go to college. And so that means students are being held accountable at, you know, the minute you get into 9th grade, like given reading assignments that, you know, okay, you're going to read these 3 chapters and you're going to come back to class and be ready to discuss them. There's lots of hands-on opportunities that we're doing, lab work, outdoor field trip excursions. Just, again, I go back to the critical thinking that we're asking our students to do. Being in those small classes really holds you accountable. You start developing those relationships. You start doing better. You're reading constantly, and so you're developing a vocabulary. You're getting ready to take SAT tests. You're taking those tests and doing really well on them the first time out, because of what you were being asked to do in your classrooms. Yes, you can go and do SAT prep classes and all that, but our kids actually on the first go round do really well because of the program we have in place. And then everything that they're doing just primes them to be highlighted when they are applying to college. They have lots of experiences and opportunities that they've taken advantage of, that they're selling themselves to a college. And so we've really seen, you know, that being in school these past 3 years really is putting our kids in great position to get into the colleges that they want to get to. So they most definitely, you know, the college counseling program alone is something that has really helped our students kind of discover what type of school I'm looking for, what's my best fit. You know, do I want a big school, a little school? What kind of programs am I looking for? And so all of those things take you through that process and put you in a position to be where you want to be. And then, you know, from there, it's up to you to do the rest. And again, I go back to our kids are going to school, coming back and telling us, wow, you know, my freshman year, like, was actually pretty easy. And because of that, they're able to then go get involved in other things on campus, because that's one of the things we want them to do at FA. We want them to do that at college. We don't want it just to be that you're there to take classes. Go get involved in clubs and different organizations and be leaders there, because you were leaders here. You can do that there. So we really have seen that in the last, you know, forever of the school. I mean, the school graduated its first class in 97, and I haven't seen any of that change really in my time at the school. So it's been exciting to watch that happen.
And a lot of the alumni still come back and they still make donations and things.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I just had dinner with somebody on Friday night who was an alum and heard all about what she was doing, and she filled me in on what a bunch of other alums were doing. And then we just, you know, they're interested in what's happening at the school, and they want to help and they want to give back, and we want to find ways for them to give back. We have alums who have children at the school now, which is, that's an evolution of the school in and of itself. We always say that, we're approaching 30 years, and you'll look at a lot of independent schools who have been around for, some of them 75, 100, 150 years, and 30 seems like so little. But when all of a sudden you find out that now you have alums who have children coming to your school. And I had the first experience this year where I coached against a former player. And so I started to feel old, so you start seeing those things. And it's like the school has well-established roots at this point and a really solid foundation. So we're really excited.
Must feel so nice,
It feels really good. It feels really good. I mean, when I first came to Fredericksburg Academy in 1996, I kind of thought it would be a 3 to 5 year stop. That was my past experience. I had been in a school for 2 years. I'd been in another one for 5. And I thought this would be a good landing spot for 5 years. But, just being in a school that was just growing, it was so exciting to be what I felt like I was on the ground level, even though I was 5 years in, watching it grow and helping develop programs. And I still get that sense every day when I go to work. I love the people I work with. Our families are great. And it's like, when you go there, you just want to keep, what can we do? What can we do? How do we make it better?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
And so a lot of people in the community will say to me, it's expensive. Independent school, you don't get money from the government.
Right,
so
right.
parents have to pay tuition.
Right.
What do you say when someone says it's expensive?
So I will agree with them. I'll say it is. It's a big investment. But I'll then also say, what better investment are you making than in the education of your children? That will last them a lifetime. And tuition has to be expensive to cover. You can imagine, the type of budget that we're running. We're talking about $6.5 million of, we've got salaries, we've got building expenses, you got educational expenses, and all the things that go into running a school. We have to pay for that. We have to make sure that we're paying our teachers. But it doesn't mean that everybody pays full price also, because everybody's individual circumstances in their household are different. So we do offer something called index tuition. It's something that you apply for. It goes through a third party. And so you send all of your financial information, tax returns, and all of that. And then that company comes back and says, this is what your family can afford. And then we hopefully can, meet you somewhere in that range and make it so that you can come to school at FA, because we want people who want to be there. We want them to be there. Because those are the most successful students that we have, is the ones who feel like, I need this, I want more. I want to be challenged. I love school. I want to be at school. And so we want those students at our school. So we work with families to make sure that, we can find ways to do that. We offer different payment plans. You can pay monthly, you can pay in 2 payments, you can pay in 1 payment. And so we try to work it out, that works best for everybody. So there are definitely options. I would recommend that anybody that was interested in it, don't balk at the, it's like sticker shock when when you go shopping for a car, you go, oh, I don't think I was ready to pay that. But guess what? There are lots of ways that we can work with you and welcome the opportunity to do that.
And then where do you see Fredericksburg Academy going in 10 years?
Yeah, in 10 years. Well, let's see. In 10 years, I might be retired at that point.
I don't know about that.
What I really see for the school is just more commitment to really taking a hard look at education and kind of the way we deliver it. I would hope that, you would see an enrollment somewhere maybe close to 500 students. I think that's probably not unrealistic in 10 years. I would imagine if we have that kind of growth, you're going to see new buildings, you're going to see new programs. But I think at the heart of it all, Fredericksburg Academy will always be about that culture and that close-knit community that we've developed in those relationships. We continue to expand our program. We're outdoors so much. We're really hoping in the next few years to make our lower school a certified outdoor elementary school.
So cool.
Yeah. We spend.
I heard it here first.
We spend so much time outdoors
Yeah.
as it is doing things. We're already checking more than half of the boxes. So really, like for us, that makes the most sense. We'll continue to make sure that students are getting opportunities outside of school, taking overnight field trips. I mean, I had a meeting this morning where we're actually putting some of those in place for the spring for our middle schoolers to make sure that they have that, because they missed that last year. And those are important components of the education that we provide for them. And then, our upper school will just continue to, the more students we have, the more programs we can offer, the more teams we have, just like it's just a trickle down effect. But, I think right now for me, the biggest thing that I think you'll see more and more getting away from is, with everybody using computers now, like the days of having to remember every single date and every single fact, what we really have to start teaching our kids is how to understand the information that's being provided to them and how to filter it and how to understand, like, is this accurate? Is this not accurate? So we're going to have to curate that information, and we're going to have to teach our kids how to do a really good job of that, because the internet's not going away. Social media is not going away.
No.
And so they're really going to have to learn how to navigate all of that.
And even at school, it's neat to walk in and see how everybody puts their cell phone up.
Oh yeah, I know. It
like,
it
wow,
is
a lot of
good.
kids have cell phones.
Yeah, that is definitely something that I've seen increase over the last 5 years. And I get it. A lot of it, you see it a lot in middle school because kids start playing sports, and you want to be able to get in touch and tell mom or dad when to come. The bus is late, this, that, and the other thing. Everybody wants to do that. But yeah, we really try in middle school to tell them they don't need it. You don't need it now. We do let students have them in the upper school. We do ask them to put them away during class, and they're really good about that. So as always, nobody's perfect. You have to give reminders to kids, and maybe once in a while it gets taken away because you took it out during class. But that's okay. That's all part of growing up. None of us did everything perfectly, and when you make mistakes, you're held accountable, and it's okay.
It teaches you growth too.
Yeah, I mean, you just learn from it. Every step is an opportunity to learn, whether it was a positive or a negative.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so I asked this question to all of my guests.
Okay.
Here we go.
Drum roll.
At UMFS, we pride ourselves as being unwavering champions. I also think FA, a lot of the staff is as well. Our families are at UMFS, our staff is, our children are. How do you view yourself as an unwavering champion?
Wow, that's a really good question. If I summed it up, I would say I will never quit on a child. I will find, I will use every key possible to try to unlock either potential or to find a solution. I will be in your corner, for life. I mean, I tell that to the alums, like, we are always here for you. And I just see myself as somebody who I love being around kids. I want to see them happy. I want to see them successful. And so whatever my part can be in that, I'm going to give that to you.
Yeah. Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining me today.
I enjoyed being here.
I really appreciate it, of course. And if anyone wants to learn more about Fredericksburg Academy, where can they go? I
would recommend that you go to www.fredericksburgacademy.org. You can check out our website, and then you can also call the school at 898-0020, and I would call our Director of Admissions, Marnie Shacken.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great holiday.
You too.
Thanks.
This is Fredericksburg Mission with Angela Rivers. Of course, to learn more about becoming a foster parent, please visit www.umfs.org/foster. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. I'm Angela Rivers with Fredericksburg Mission. Tune in at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us again next week for our next episode.
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.